Hey, Forrest here. Nothing like getting paid. And with ICCU's mobile app, I can deposit checks or accept Zelle payments so the money hits my account fast. I just wish there was an app for mowing the rest of these lawns.
It's Truck Month. It's our favorite month of the year at Lithia Ford of Boise. Time to pick up savings, pick up power, pick up fun. And the best place to pick up yours? Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
RowPaint.com is going all in this season with an all-star lineup. It's Coach Leon Rice and Andy Rowe.
Oh, no. Want to just paint my house?
When I want Boise State to win, I trust Coach Rice to lead the Broncos to victory.
And when I want the best painting and garage floor coating, I trust RowPaint.com to get that job done right.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Today's broadcast is coming from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Canned Cocktails is perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Well, Mike Prater, I think Leon Rice's expression when Andy Rowe airballed the free throw is about what he was thinking when he saw the bracket come out yesterday. Selection Sunday is in the past. We did a little recap show last night. We've had a few hours to sleep on it. And here we are, Monday morning, NCAA tournament week. The good news, Boise State is in the bracket. The bad news is Mike Prater can make fun of me for all my metrics talk all season long. And we'll get after it today on Bronco Nation News Live. I guess the good thing is I didn't even have to unpack Mike Prater. My same Vegas bag I'm just taking right with me to Dayton and then hopefully on to Indianapolis. Had to be there. I've never done this before, but I literally was standing outside the Great Clips this morning at 8 a.m. when they opened because I expected to have all day today to trim up the beard a little bit and get a haircut. And no, now I am flying out at noon to go to Denver, to go to Indianapolis, and then to drive to Dayton. And not something that I thought I'd be doing or something that you guys thought you'd be talking about today, but here we are, 6 bids in the Mountain West. Maybe one of them got the seat everybody thought they would, and looking forward to your hot takes today, Mike Prater.
BJ, what's going on? And I hope between at least trips, you at least took out the dirty underwear and did some washing last night before you repacked your bags. And you don't want to go to Indianapolis smelling like Las Vegas, but it's another week. It's another storyline. And here's Boise State basketball again in March with all kinds of, I don't know if angst is the right word. There's some good here. Let's not get too carried away, but I have some very strong feelings about the selection committee, and I know you do as well. And we're going to talk metrics. We're going to talk Boise State. I can't wait to get this. I was actually very, very excited to wake up this morning and get this week started. So I know we spent 4 or 5 days in Las Vegas. We got the weekend hangover, but let's get after it today, bud.
Hey, I do want to give a quick thank you, Mike. Yesterday on the show in the evening, someone had mentioned, I had mentioned how expensive this trip was to go to Dayton at the last minute. And there was somebody had asked if there was a way they could help donate to the travel fund for the trip today. And I threw the Bronco Nation News Venmo out there, and I threw the link on the website. And we have had close to 20 people step up and some $5, $10, $20. We had a $50. And I had said anyone that wanted to donate, we'd raffle off a little Tyson Degenhart autographed mini basketball. But this, it was a $500+ ticket one way to get to Indy and haven't even bought the return trip home yet. And you're talking about car rental and multiple nights hotels. And so we're doing okay at BNN, but anything is appreciated and helpful. And especially for this trip at the last minute. And folks, about 20 of you stepped up, and I just wanted to say thank you. Nice. And at some point, probably on game day, we'll do the little raffle on the show for the Tyson Degenhart mini basketball. And I just wanted to thank all of you that the Venmo at Bronco Nation News, if you feel so inclined. But we're heading. Nothing was going to stop us, Mike Prater, but certainly did not. When I was looking at one-way flights yesterday during the day and starting to plan stuff, never in a million years did it cross my mind that I might be having to buy a flight to Dayton, Ohio. I was in the room yesterday. We have the reaction that we can play from the team. That video has gotten over 1 million views on social media, and it was talked about on a lot of podcasts and things I've heard. Nobody was expecting this, Mike Prater. It was, surprising, shocking, whatever you want to say it. But the silence in the room was deafening. I'll play the clip in a minute, but just your initial reaction to Boise State dropping down to Dayton.
Yeah, you said silence. You said shocking. We could throw out about a million other adjectives. I think it's embarrassing, really. I really, truly do. The fact that Boise State is in Dayton playing in those games, and yesterday on TV, the first comment they say is that Boise State's one of the last four ins. That's embarrassing. And the NCAA selection committee should be completely and totally embarrassed. And I'm not saying that lightly. I've been thinking about that word for the last couple of hours. And it really, really is embarrassing. I'm not going to sit here. I mean, first of all, kudos for giving the Mountain West 6. That's a school record, or that's a conference record, and we should not lose sight of the fact that the Mountain West had a spectacular season. Could they have done some things better? Sure, everybody could when we get in this hindsight. But the selection committee, and shame on you, Mark Coyle and Tom Wistersill and Greg Byrne and Gill and all you guys. I should name all 12 of you because, frankly, you're embarrassing. And the fact that you're representing college basketball and doing what you did yesterday, I know you don't care about a single team like Boise State, but you were embarrassing yesterday. The process is embarrassing. The results yesterday were embarrassing. I don't really care about the seed line. I don't really care about the number. I care about the fact that they put Boise State in Dayton, Ohio, in essentially a first four/play-in game, whatever you want to call it these days, and told us that Boise State was the last team out of 6 in this Mountain West Conference that got into the tournament based on where you put them and how you did it. It's embarrassing, and those guys should be embarrassed, and I don't have anything. I wish I could say something stronger, and these aren't personal attacks. These are just 12 men who did a horrible job, and they're expected to do a great job, and putting Boise State in Dayton is a horrible job, and you guys should be embarrassed.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of national. You said it perfectly, Mike, and Mark Few is going to echo that statement in just a second here when I play his clip. But I listened to multiple podcasts last night. The Gary Parrish, Matt Norlander, CBS Sports is probably one of the top podcasts out there, and they both said it was one of the worst seeding jobs they've seen in the history of this tournament. And you look at a team like Dayton. You know how many teams Dayton beat, Mike Prater, that are in the NCAA tournament? Zero. No. Dayton beat 0 teams that made the field, and they're a 7 seed. Wow. You had Florida Atlantic got an 8 seed. I know Joe Lenardi was saying Boise State and Florida Atlantic should have been flipped. Florida Atlantic got an 8 seed. They had like 3 quad 4 losses. And Leon Rice, definitely bit his tongue and was careful with what he said publicly. But you could tell we'll hear from him in a second. He was certainly frustrated. All the things that the committee talked about. Challenging yourself in the non-conference. Boise State did that. They didn't win all those games. They went out and played one of the harder non-conference schedules in America, and they were not rewarded for that. Winning on the road. Boise State was 7-2 on the road in the Mountain West, and I know you put the comment up there on Twitter that the commissioner, that the chairman of the committee said that a lot of their big wins came in conference and they kind of beat up on each other. Well, I got a quote from Steve Alford, who basically says that's a bunch of BS that we'll hear in a second as well. But that's not true. I mean, St. Mary's, who they gave a 5 seed to, Boise State beat them. San Diego State beat them. San Diego State also beat Gonzaga. Boise State, Utah State both beat San Francisco. The Mountain West record versus the WCC was pretty one-sided, and yet both WCC teams got 5 seeds. I know Gonzaga, I think, would have been a 6. They flipped with BYU doing the not playing on Sunday thing. But for the WCC to have a 5 and a 6 seed, I mentioned Dayton, I mentioned FAU. I mean, New Mexico would not have made the tournament if they didn't win the championship game. The committee, there's only 2 people, I think, west of like the Mississippi or whatever that were even on the committee. The bias certainly was showing. I don't know if it's the, Boise State's history in the tournament, all the Mountain West usually not doing too well in this tournament, but rarely. And again, this kind of is a reminder. We don't know. All we know is what, the 12 people in that committee are the ones that ultimately make the decision. But you had 106, esteemed or I guess recognized bracketologists that put together brackets and they track this stuff every single year, and there's 106 of them, and they rank how they do every year, and they do the averages and all this. And There were 5 teams in this tournament. If you average the 106 bracketologists, Joe Lenardi, Jerry Palm, all these people, you average them together, there were 5 teams, Mike Prater, that got put more than 1.5 seed where they were projected. All 5 teams were in the Mountain West Conference. So the Mountain West just got, I can't use that. I probably could use the word I want to use. I was going to say on. I can't say that, but they got crapped on, I guess you can say, by the committee. And I was stunned. And the silence in that room, we can play this right now. And it was, you feel for these guys. Heck, I think they're going to go win the game now. But here's the reaction in the room as the seed came up.
Pittsburgh. Okay, now we go to the second set matchups in Indianapolis on Friday. The Gators lead the nation. They did lose the big man, Mike Prater, earlier today to a leg fracture, wishing a speedy recovery. And then here's where it gets interesting. Whoa! Dayton on the 10 lines.
Who are the last 14 really?
To see Boise State.
We're going to Dayton on Tuesday.
Mike Prater, it took about 20 seconds for people to start clapping there. You see Leon Rice, couldn't believe it. Marlene Tromp, I try to freeze frame it. There's Marlene Tromp, hands over the face. You got Leon Rice, can't believe it. None of the players can believe it. Max Rice saying, we're going to Dayton. We were one of the last 4 teams in. I mean, they had posters made, Mike Prater. They had, Leon Rice speaking before, all talking about him. It was a foregone conclusion. This team was 100% in, and it turns out that necessarily wasn't the case.
You talked about New Mexico and what we know about New Mexico now. And if they hadn't won the tournament, if they hadn't won the championship game, they wouldn't have been in the NCAA tournament. I'll take it a little bit step further. Based on what the NCAA committee said yesterday, the embarrassing NCAA committee, what they said yesterday, that Boise State was one of the last 4 ins. I'll go back to Max Rice's miracle shot against San Diego State.
Yes.
If that sucker doesn't go in, I'm not sure Boise State's even in the tournament. And to me, that's just another fact. You threw out a whole bunch of stuff and comparisons to the FAUs and the Daytons, and that's all really, really good information. And at one point, I do want to debate the Mountain West. I don't think the Mountain West, in hindsight, and I'm not even close to being smart enough to figure all this stuff out, but once the evidence is presented to me, I'll look at the Mountain West, and they need to schedule better. I'm not saying that that's why they got screwed this year, but I'm not convinced of the St. Mary's and Gonzaga and Creighton's and Colorado's and Washington and TCU's, that if those are your best wins, you've definitely got to do a better job of scheduling, especially if the committee, I don't care how embarrassing the committee is, just told you that you're not good enough to get into this tournament with the schedule you had. So the Mountain West collectively, and let's talk about that 18 or 20 game schedule. Let's talk about the non-conference. And I know we don't want to do that right this second, but at one point today or certainly this week, I want to talk about the NCAA and the Mountain West getting better in its non-con. But to put Boise and Dayton, that's really the focus of my angst. To put Boise and Dayton and to put that basketball team, have them gasp like that. I mean, Marlene Tromp doesn't know anything about seeding or bracketology, but she knew well enough the second that came out that, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Leon and Max and what they were saying. We're one of the last 4 ins and we're going to Dayton. It's embarrassing, BJ. The NCAA, I wish all 12 members of the NCAA selection committee were listening to this show today. Putting Boise State and Dayton as one of the last 4, and I'm not going to stop saying it all week long. Guys, you were embarrassing. That's just really, really, it's just a disservice to this basketball team and a disservice to what you do. You were embarrassing yesterday.
You better already have Tom Worcestershire on the show today. I mean, come on, Mike Prater.
I'm going to invite him, and he's embarrassing, and he's part of this process.
He may not want to come on because again, I know you, we kind of poke fun at it. It's all in good fun about me studying the metrics and things like that. But again, you can look at it any way you want. There are not 43 or whatever it is teams in America that have better resumes than Boise State. 6 quad 1 wins. They have 3 quad 2 wins. The 6 quad 1 wins, I think there's only like 10 or 11 teams in America that have that. I mean, Michigan State got a 9 seed when they've got 14 losses and only 3 quad 1 wins. I could easily go find you 5 or 6 teams, Mike Prater, ahead of them that had no business being in that situation. And, for what they had done this year, going to win at the Pit, winning at San Diego State, winning at Nevada, beating St. Mary's on a neutral court, going and challenging themselves. for that to result in not even a spot in the field of 64 is a damn shame. And I will say this, just seeing the initial 5-minute shock wore off when those guys got up. I mean, I know maybe it's a cliche thing to say, whatever. Maybe Colorado feels the same way, but I don't think this is going to be some team that's dejected and not wanting to be there. I think these teams going to say, hey, all right, it's an extra chance we have to go win another game, and they're the only game going on that night, and they're going to find the positive and try to go make history again, and we can debate. As some fans said on last night's show, they don't want to count the first four as a win in the tournament. We can debate that all we want. But I think Florida's beatable in the next game. I didn't have time to add it up, Mike Prater, but I believe something of like 7 of the last 8 years or something, a team that's won the first 4 game has gone on to win another game as well, kind of like we saw New Mexico winning that first game against Air Force, carrying the momentum over. There is something to that. VCU, heck, they went all the way to the Final Four out of the first 4. So it can be done, and I just think this team deserved better. Max Rice, Tyson Degenhart deserve better, but you know what? Maybe the silver lining is that the entire country will have a chance to see Max Rice and Tyson Degenhart play. There won't be 4 games on at the same time, and maybe when they make history, it'll mean more. And it's only a 2-hour drive to Indianapolis after that. It's funny though, man, when they started with the UConn bracket in Brooklyn, Mike Prater, at the beginning of the show, and that was one of the landing spots that some people had, was the 8-9 in Brooklyn against UConn. And that was like literally going to be the 3rd team announced in the tournament. And I've never been more nervous because I didn't want to go to Brooklyn at all than when that came up and it was not them. And everybody was clapping. And the next 8-9 came up clapping. Everyone's thinking it's going to be better. No one was thinking it was going to be worse. And just shocked. But I thought Mark Few, have you seen Mark Few's soundbite yet? I thought he summed it up pretty nicely. Let's hear from Mark Few.
I tell you what, I don't want to get on too much of a soapbox, but Leon, that's one of the worst screw jobs I've seen, man. I mean, they had a heck of a year and swept some of the teams that are 4 or 5 seeds ahead of them, and that one was shocking. So, but I was glad to see Tad get in and Billy get in. So.
One of the worst screw jobs he's seen, Mike Prater. Obviously, he's friends with Leon, but that is the other kind of downside to this, is that Leon's playing Tad Boyle, one of his best friends at Colorado. Colorado, an interesting team. Some people are comparing them to Memphis a couple years ago. I'm not going to quite go that far. They do have multiple potential NBA players on their roster. Their freshman, Cody Williams, could be a first-round pick this year. They've got talent, but they've been prone to lose some bad games as well. They've lost multiple games that are worse than any game Boise State has lost. Circa Sports does have Colorado as a 2.5-point favorite in this game. So not necessarily the easiest game, but you know what? If this kind of feels like an 8-9 game, a 7-10 game, like this is the caliber of team you were probably going to have to play. No one just thought it would be in Dayton.
Yeah, no, I think the opponent makes a lot of sense. The opponent's fine. I got no problem with the opponent. You take out the blind resume and the numbers and just these two are playing each other, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm really glad. I am really, really glad. One of my favorite parts of yesterday was the fact that Leon Rice has to play Tad Boyle. And I want Leon Rice to realize that playing Tad Boyle in a 2-hour basketball game, I don't care if it's November and it's early season or if it's March and it's the tournament. It's okay to play your buddy and play a basketball game, and at the end of the 2 hours, no hard feelings. So he's going to survive this experience, and maybe somewhere down the road, this will open up the door for Boise State playing Gonzaga. But that's just a subplot in my stupid little mind that eventually Leon Rice is going to have to play Gonzaga in a fun little basketball game. So maybe that's a silver lining here. But I didn't know that about Colorado, and I have no idea. I know you're predicting or thinking that Boise State's going to win this game and head off to play Florida. I'm not even going to go there. I have no idea what the mental makeup of this team is right now. They're certainly on their back heels, but that doesn't mean they can't be defiant and confident. I also want to spend some time today, whether it's talking with you or later on in Idaho Sports Talk. There's something broken here. The system is broken here. Yes. And it's not just a 12-person committee. And I like to fix things when they're broken. And what is it? So there's 106 bracketology experts who are fairly smart at what they do. And there's a consensus in what they do in terms of the bracketology. But then here's these 12 embarrassing men in Indianapolis putting together this bracket, and they're completely opposite. So is the NCAA committee broken? Is the media and the bracketologists broken? Do we not understand this system? I liked it better back when I was a 15-year-old kid and there were 64 teams and it was a bracket and it was 1 through 16 and it was based on geography, and now it's pods this and seed lines that and nonsense here, and How could you be the last person in when you're a 10 seed? Shouldn't that be a 16 seed? I know I'm talking sophomoric questions about the bracket, and I'm not a bracketologist or a bracket expert, but the whole system to me seems completely broken. This is how embarrassing what happened yesterday was. I'm starting to compare this to college football and its playoff committee and the shenanigans that are going on with college football and its postseason. I always thought basketball was the sanctity and the savior and the beautiful part of college basketball and college sports in general. It's becoming a broken, greedy, money-hungry system, and it just drives me crazy now, BJ.
Yeah, and a lot of the comments are agreeing with you on that. The one thing I will say about the football committee, Mike Prater, and I said this on Twitter last night, they need the college football playoff committee, I believe, has a representative from the media, or at one time did. I believe they have multiple former coaches on the football committee. I mean, we all joke about Ken Pomeroy, whatever the Ken Pom rankings. Ken Pomeroy should be on the committee. I mean, some people like that, or national media that cover the sport, like a Seth Davis or an Andy Katz, or just some national media member that knows what they're talking about, or multiple. We've got school presidents, school athletic directors, conference commissioners nothing against Tom Worcestersill, but the dude's got a conference to run. Is he really watching every Mountain West basketball game?
He says he is.
I get it. I understand it. But I'm just saying, Mike Krzyzewski should be on this committee, or former coaches, Roy Williams, or whoever, there should be I already put it on Twitter. I totally agree with you, Mike. There should be a more diversity in the committee. And frankly, I don't think the Mountain West is helped by all these games starting at 9 p.m. A lot of these guys on the East Coast at midnight are not staying up to watch these games, and it is what it is. Somebody else asked about that too, Mike Prater. I will just say the reason that the play-in games are for the 10 seeds is literally there were so many bid stealers this year from smaller conferences. They started at 16 and worked their way up. All the 11s on, I believe, are conference champions that would have been ranked lower anyway. So the final at-large spots this year were 10. Sometimes the final at-large spots are 12. I mean, because there were just so many bid stealers this year, and I get it. Also, Colorado State was the last team in the tournament. I don't understand that at all. Boise State was the first team that had to go to Dayton. The other three were technically seeded worse than them. But Nevada, and we're going to hear from Steve Alford in a second, Nevada was one spot above Boise State, so Nevada was one spot from Boise State. Almost made two Mountain West teams play each other in the first four, which can happen if there's three. Two cannot play each other. And I think Colorado State actually got a better draw playing Virginia. Virginia should not have been in this tournament, but they didn't want to have Colorado and Colorado State play each other again since they already played this season. So that's why it bumped out where Boise State played Colorado and they play Virginia. But I mean, literally, I find you 15 things in 30 seconds that were wrong with the bracket, and the Mountain West certainly is one of them. And I mean, there are a lot of prominent national media people saying Boise State going to Dayton is one of the worst things they have seen in a long time. Steve Alford was on CBS Sports Network. I want to take a break and hear from Leon, but I do want to play this quick bite from Steve Alford, Mike, and get your thought on it. Steve Alford was on CBS Sports Network, their show afterwards, kind of talking about the league, why the league was so good this year, and the league getting disrespected a little bit.
Well, this year, I think we've been really good for a long time, Chris, but this year, top to bottom, it was the best that we've ever experienced. And I just think the 6 teams that got in not only did their work in league, they did their work out of league. All 6 teams had incredible metrics when you looked at all the things from quad wins to road wins we just beat up on each other in league, but that's what all the Power 5 leagues do as well. That's where they get their quad 1 wins. We're not getting a lot of quad 1 wins in the non-league, and we went out and our league actually did do some of that. So very worthy of it. Some questionable seeds, obviously, but doesn't matter. I'd rather be a 10 seed at Salt Lake than a 7, I guess, in Charlotte. But some of them were a little scary because I know New Mexico, it almost looks like they had to win our tournament to get in. They are an outstanding team. Colorado State, Boise playing in playing games. That's mind-boggling because these teams had incredible seasons and worthy, I think, of just better seeds.
Mike Prater, mind-boggling from a guy like Steve Alford, who's been around college basketball for a long time.
Yeah, and obviously he's got a selfish interest in the Mountain West, but he's not wrong. He's not wrong at all. And Colorado State is one of the last in. I'm always willing to do that. And we were always confused during this season about why Colorado State their metrics were so good anyway. So That one didn't surprise me too much, but the whole Boise State thing, and I don't know, it just gets me all fired up, and it's so sad that it's a committee that I used to trust. It's an NCAA organization, one of only few that we used to have respect for and really, really appreciated. Sitting on the NCAA selection committee used to be a thing of prestige, and it was really, really cool. When you met a committee member or talked to a committee member, it really meant something, and it really brought something. I know I'm talking a tough game now, but next time I see Tom Wistersill, I'm going to laugh at him almost like he's a cartoon character because of what they did yesterday. And I know that that's terrible. And that's a personal judgment against a really good dude who otherwise is doing great work in the big sky. But the fact that he did this yesterday, and I know he's just not one, and there's a whole bunch of them. Scott Barnes, he's the Oregon State athletic director with a lot of West Coast ties. And I'm not saying these guys have to play favorites. I loved what you're saying, though, and I liked your tweet last night, BJ, about former coaches and media members and some savvy people. We've got 12 political dudes, and this is already a political season. Why do we have to make sports so damn political, too? These are 12 guys essentially running for office. Look at me with selfish interest. And then they play these stupid games. It's almost like their girlfriend who overthinks things way too much. And now all of a sudden we have to move seed lines here and do this, that, and move up and down. Come on, guys. You rank them 1 through 64 or 1 through 68. You give them a 1 through 16 seed, and you do what's right, and you move on. And you base it all on blind resumes and what you did during the regular season. Again, I want the Mountain West. This is an opportunity for the Mountain West to get better in the non-con. And I don't think their non-con was that impressive. I think it was okay, but it wasn't that impressive. Obviously, the selection committee, even though they're embarrassing, told us yesterday that the Mountain West has to do a better job of scheduling in the non-con, and hopefully they figure that out next year.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that comes back to the whole 20-game conference schedule debate and everything else that we can get to down the line. But, I mean, Utah State, we haven't even mentioned them, Mike Prater, an 8 seed. Utah State is an 8 seed when they won a league that got 6 bids into the NCAA tournament. You could say what you want about the seeding, but they outright regular season champions of a team that won the league, and they got an 8 seed. That's pretty crazy to me. Again, New Mexico. Think about the outrage in Albuquerque and across the country. Literally, if New Mexico would have lost to San Diego State, they wouldn't have been in. I mean, that's just, as Steve Alford said, mind-boggling. Leon Rice called it head-scratching. We got to take a quick 90-second timeout. We'll hear from Leon. We'll keep this thing going here. 90 seconds. We're back on Bronco Nation News. All Bronco Nation News broadcasts come from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mix premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Spirits, perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Our title sponsor is rowpaint.com. For all your commercial, industrial, residential painting needs, check out rowpaint.com. Don't forget about their concrete coatings. Transform that ugly concrete slab on your back patio in your garage in just one day. Contact rowpaint.com for a free estimate today. The official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics, and our title sponsor at Bronco Nation News is rowpaint.com. Idaho Central Credit Union's been helping members achieve financial success for more than 80 years. There's an ICCU branch on almost every corner, but the closest is in your pocket with free eBranch mobile and online banking. CUI more than 500,000 members love ICCU, and join 1 in 4 Idahoans by making the switch today at ICCU.com. Since 1984, Ridley's Family Markets has prided itself on being a hometown food and drug store that employed value members of the local community. Ridley's Family Markets has 13 locations in the state of Idaho and many more in the surrounding states. Download the new Ridley's app to your smartphone, get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line, and find a location near you at shopridleys.com. Former Bronco Matt Bauscher is once again the number 1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley. No home is too big or too small for Matt and his team. Let them fulfill all your real estate needs at BauscherRealEstate.com. All right, Mike Prater, you saw the scene, you saw the kind of silence, and as I said, as they started walking out, I said something to Roddy Anderson about tough draw. He said more opportunities to prove people wrong. And it does seem like that kind of chip on their shoulder. You talked about it in the conference tournament. They play better with a chip on their shoulder. They went in there loosey-goosey, nothing to lose in the conference tournament based on what we've seen from this team. Again, take away the matchup, take away everything else, just what we've seen from this team this year when their backs are against the wall, coming off a tough loss, really needing a win, going on the road. More times than not, this team that, Mike Prater, when it's been a tough situation, they've stepped up and played well. And obviously, if you're a Boise State fan, that's what you got to hope happens, that they use this as some motivation on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's certainly the first thing I thought about was that chip on the shoulder is back. And we saw clear evidence. And I love the sports psychology and the study of human nature. And this basketball team clearly plays better with a chip on its shoulder and me against the world. That's how they were so successful this season. And then they get into the Mountain West tournament and, all that talk, Leon's press conference, my column, all the fans thinking, okay, let's just go and enjoy this one. And then we learned this basketball team clearly needs to have a chip on its shoulder after that game. So here we go. The chip is back and it's stronger and louder. It's like bright, shiny Las Vegas neon chip on your shoulder. And that's how strong that this chip on the shoulder is. And I have no idea if that's going to be enough to win a basketball game Wednesday night in Dayton. We'll see. And yes, by the way, one, the NCAA does recognize that as an official victory. And two, I think it would be an official victory. Now, we also get the luxury of having an asterisk to debate for a whole nother season if they don't beat Florida. But if Boise State wins on Wednesday night in Dayton, clearly their record in the NCAA tournament will become 1-9, and they'll get most, if not all, that monkey off their back. And that's a nice opportunity. Go out and take care of business, put that chip on your shoulder, and take advantage of it. Let's see what you can do.
Yeah, if you want to be one of those guys that doesn't want to count the win, then you can't count the losses. They'd be 0-7, not 0-9. I know that doesn't necessarily matter, but as someone that's been to Dayton, Mike, even though they played Dayton, it has. I mean, at least some. People say on TV it's not the same. Whatever. If you're in the building, it feels like the NCAA tournament. The court is the same. Press conferences room, the practices, like it to me is it feels like the NCAA tournament. I get it watching it on TV. If you're not on that Thursday with 16 games, maybe it doesn't quite have that feel. I get it, but remember last time they were there, they should have beaten Dayton, and then they were playing Dayton at Dayton, and there was a late comeback. Last 4 minutes of the game. So Boise State, Leon Rice has two experienced trips to Dayton. This will be his third trip going to Dayton with Boise State. And I asked him probably 10 minutes, 5 minutes after the show ended, his thoughts on the draw last night.
Well, a little surprised, to be honest. I mean, I don't think anyone had us projected there. I thought that we'd be a higher seed because, two things that were emphasized, the schedule that you put together, and then winning games on the road, and we did both of those. But, hey, we're grateful that we're in the greatest sporting event there is, and, pretty familiar with Colorado. Tad's one of my best friends in the business and in the world, and now we get to play each other, so there we go.
You talked a bunch about that schedule during the season, how it was going to pay dividends. Do you feel like almost cheated in that sense that you play that tough schedule and that you got a lower seed?
It makes you wonder about scheduling, if that really is important or is it more important to win by 30 or 40? I mean, that, who knows? But, we had a great net. We did our work and we're in the tournament, and there's a lot of teams that right now would trade places with us, and our guys are excited. Dayton's a great place. They come out and support, and, you're the first teams playing, and so it's exciting. Right, and it's good. It's not a home game, no doubt, or a road game like we did. I think it was last time we played there. So our guys are excited. Now there's a quick turnaround. We got to get on the road quickly, and I certainly probably didn't plan on that.
The Mountain West in general, Colorado State was literally the last team in. Looked like New Mexico would have been in trouble if they didn't win the tournament. I mean, a little surprised, I guess, that after all year the praise the Mountain West got, that it looks like they maybe didn't think you guys as highly as some thought.
Yeah, that's a head scratcher a little bit, But I'd love to know what goes on in that room, because I don't know what they were looking at or what things hurt, our league as far as. But it also might be when you're putting together the bracket, you got to keep those teams away from each other, all that stuff that maybe affects seeds and changes lines a little bit. But like I said, hey, it's a great tournament, and we're in it. We're excited to play.
You can hear the full interview with Leon Rice on our BNN YouTube channel. We've got that posted. You could clearly tell there, Mike Prater, he wanted to say more. That's why I was glad that Mark Few spoke up for him and called it a screw job. But it is what it is. They're in the tournament. The opportunity is still there. But again, he called it a head scratcher, and it is what it is. But I think Leon, based on what I know of Leon and what I saw yesterday, I think they're going to spin this again. They may not be the better team. They may not win the game, but I don't think they're going to come out flat and come out, ticked off. They're going to Dayton. I think they're going to use this as a positive.
Well, I hope they're ticked off, but I hope it's a positive approach to it. And I know that's what you meant, just using what happened yesterday as motivation. And there's no doubt this is a resilient basketball team. What they only lost a couple of back-to-back games all season long. It's a veteran group. It's a tough group. You saw Max and his reaction yesterday, and you can see that he's going to try to come out and do what he has to do. And Tyson and this company, we'll see. I have no idea what's going to happen on Wednesday night, and we'll spend the next couple of days trying to decipher all that. But what a pickle that this committee, this embarrassing committee, by the way, has put Boise State in. Now, it's a great opportunity because if you come out and win, it's a nice middle finger to that committee, and it's a nice little pat in the back for this basketball program that's so desperately searching for that one win. But at the same time, it's a prove-it moment. And if you don't win this basketball game, everybody's going to say, well, Boise State was whining. Well, Boise State, the committee got it right. There's a lot at stake on Wednesday night. Political stake, basketball at stake, resume at stake, financially at stake. And all these games are worth an NCAA unit. If you want to know if the NCAA win in Dayton counts, well, financially it does because you get the same unit that you get when you win a basketball game in the main draw. So there's clearly an opportunity here for Boise State, but if they don't win this game, the risk-reward factor is going to bite them in the ass because the prove-it factor is here. And if you can't prove it, they're going to laugh at you, and that's unfortunate for Boise State after the kind of season they put through this year.
Yeah, and I will say this, though, Mike. I mean, I was listening to that Eye on College basketball podcast from Gary Parrish and Matt Nolander. And by the way, Gary Parrish is going to join me tomorrow to preview this and talk about this. But as they said, people are waiting on that, but that shouldn't be a fair thing this year. You can maybe for Boise State, you can say whatever, but all these Mountain West teams got put in such terrible draws. Like Utah, New Mexico should not have to play a Clemson in the first game, and Utah State being an 8, so they might win one game, then they have to play a 1 seed. Boise State, their situation, Colorado State, Nevada was a 10 seed. These teams are all playing much harder teams than they should have had to play in the first game. So I think everyone is kind of waiting to jump and say, see, the Mountain West is overrated. We told you they can't win the games. When I don't know if that's necessarily, to some extent it's true, Mike, but I think this year maybe more than some because of how much they got gypped by the committee and where they're playing. I think it's going to be a little harder for them to win some of these games than if they were higher seeds, would have had better draws.
Yeah, maybe. But you know what? Nobody's going to look at that kind of fine print. They're just going to see, Boise State and the Mountain West whined, and then they went 1-5 in the first round. And that's just not a good look, and we're not going to read the fine print and go into the rationale and the logic that you just presented. So they're going to take it on the surface and then just beat up the Mountain West. And unfortunately, they're going to have to win at least 3, maybe 4 of these games to get any kind of credibility to that whining that we've all been doing for the last 24 hours. When I say whining, I'm not ripping on the Mountain West. I'm just saying that was a natural reaction to what we saw yesterday, to that embarrassing committee and that decision by the committee. So, and I don't think their draws are that bad. I mean, San Diego State, and I'll frankly say, UAB, TCU, Colorado, Virginia, Dayton. I haven't watched any of those teams play, but on paper, again, I felt like it was just like the Boise State, Colorado one. Take out the seed, take out the site, and it seems like the matchup felt right to me. Most of these other games, the matchup feels pretty darn good to me.
You mentioned you're not whining about the Mountain West. I have a small complaint with the Mountain West, and I have a small complaint with Gloria Nevarez. We love Gloria Nevarez. She's been doing a great job, I think, for the most part. But her first tweet was, boasting about the Mountain West getting 6 teams in and how excited they were for it. I think she should have been a little more defensive in terms of how much the Mountain West got screwed on some of the seedings. The press release from the Mountain West was all positive. They're pushing this 6 teams in, and I get it. But you hear what all the schools are, saying individually, and all these coaches. I think Gloria should have been a little more outspoken in how some of this didn't seem right.
I agree. I didn't see her tweet last night. As a matter of fact, I didn't see her tweet at all. So I 100% agree with that. And she's hitting a lot of home runs around here, but if she missed that opportunity. Now, if you want to say something nice on Twitter and public, that's fine. I hope at least behind the scenes, either her or a couple of her basketball sidekicks inside that conference made some calls like, what the hell happened? Why is this happening? What do we have to do behind the scenes to fix this so we don't get into this situation before? You can't just sit there and throw out a bunch of happy stuff on Twitter. You've got to grind behind the scenes to figure out what happened and dig into what happened. And hopefully they're taking care of business like that behind the scenes.
Hey, Lithia Ford Boise, check them out, lithiafordboise.com. You can view their full inventory of vehicles. You can do what the Rains family did. We saw the two we liked, did all the research online, went in, test drove them, picked this vehicle right here, and we were on our way in a couple of hours. Doing great things there. They're back for our hole-in-one sponsor, Mike Prater. This will finally be the year you win that free vehicle at the hole-in-one at the golf tournament. We appreciate our friends at Lithia Ford Boise. We appreciate Taco Bell as well. They are hiring. TacoBellWorks.com, all the freestanding Treasure Valley Taco Bell locations. SON Management, the Nicolason family. We appreciate Taco Bell. Check them out, TacoBellWorks.com. If you're looking for a job, they'll give you half your wages the day after your shift and free food. You can't beat it. Again, TacoBellWorks.com. The Blue and Orange Store, you need some new Boise State gear for the tournament. Free shipping, any order online over $40, or you can go into the Boise Town Square Mall there on the second floor next to Pro Image. Shirts, caps, bumper stickers, car flags, sweatshirts, jackets, you name it. They've got it all at the Blue and Orange Store. If you're looking for a job, transportation compliance service, the trucking industry, I highly recommend you get into it. Mike Prater, Jeff Meinert asked me, texted me while we were in Vegas, who runs transportation compliance service. He wanted me to put $100 on red for him on the roulette wheel. And I walked up to the roulette wheel, had it videotaped, and it wasn't my money. It was his because I didn't win nothing. But, of course, he won $100 on the red roulette wheel. So the only extra money I came home with wasn't even mine. Transportation Compliance Service. Congrats to Jeff Meinert. He won. And if you want to get in the trucking industry, they can help you out every step of the way, the permits and things. Again, transcompservice.com. And if Bronco Brew Coffee, check them out, broncobrew.coffee. They're helping Boise State athletics with every sip. You can pick an athlete online, donate a couple bucks to the NIL game. They're doing tastings at offices. So if you want to have them out to your office and try some of the different flavors they have, again, roasted to order. In many cases, within 24 hours, it's at your doorstep in the Treasure Valley after it's roasted. Check them out. Get more information online at broncobrew.coffee. All right, final minute or two here, Mike Prater. Just, you guys will be all over it today, 3 to 6. By the way, Kendrick Melville, I wanted to thank him. If I can find the tweet here. Where did it go? I'll find it in a second, Mike. But anyway, right here. Kendrick Melville donated $50 through the BNN thing. So appreciate you. We're not going to turn this into a telethon here, but do appreciate you, Kendrick, and everyone else that donated yesterday to help get BNN there, starting with our live show tomorrow morning from Dayton. So, the final thoughts here. You guys will be all over it today, and we can be, ticked off, whatever. But at some point here, you got to turn it to the matchup, turn it to the game, turn it to making history, and try to, as I said, make the most out of this situation. You literally are the only game in the country going on. You're going to get more exposure, even though it's true TV. I still think you're going to get better ratings for something like that than a random game when there's 4 other games going on at the same time on a Thursday or Friday. And it's a big opportunity. You win this one. Florida lost one of their best players in the SEC tournament. I think that's a winnable game as well. And then take your chances. But still going to be fun. Looking forward to getting to Dayton later today. And it's still, again, we can be ticked and mad and whatever. Boise State fans can say they got gypped, but in the end, you're still part of the big dance, even if it's not where you wanted to be.
Yeah, and you got to prove it. I mean, that should be the motto for the next 48 hours. Just prove it, prove it, prove it. And this is such an important victory. This is such an important game for Boise State in terms of its national credibility. So the stage is there. You did a nice job there of describing the scene in terms of Wednesday night and all the eyeballs on television. I think it's 7:00 start here in Boise. That's certainly good for the local fans and even on the East Coast, that's pretty good. So let's see if Boise State, let's see how resilient they are. Let's see how tough Leon Rice is. And I'm not questioning the team's toughness or Leon Rice's toughness. I've always thought that was one of the great characters of this program and certainly one of the great characters of Leon Rice. And never before has it been asked to prove it so much. This opportunity with the NCAAs is so much different than all these other ones because of the credibility of what they've built this year and the embarrassing decision from the committee yesterday and the winnable game in front of them. I'm not going to sit here and even remotely talk about a Florida basketball game. I have no idea how that sucker would go. I just need to see Boise State do something that it's never, ever done before, win a game with an NCAA logo on a basketball court. And here comes this opportunity, but I hope that they can prove it. If not, I have a feeling that this might even come down to like roster retention and you winning basketball games and going into the offseason with a feel-good moment as opposed to you losing, 3 of your last 4 games, getting ridiculed by an embarrassing committee yesterday and their decisions, and then losing that first-round game. That's going to leave a lot of angst. And maybe a couple of these guys are going to have some decisions to make. So I think there's a lot at stake on Wednesday night, and I hope Boise State can figure it out and prove it because that's what they need to do.
And Joe Lenardi says, somebody says Joe Lenardi has Boise State beating both Colorado and Florida. So one guy that at least watches the teams play, and he was pretty outspoken saying he thought Boise State got a raw deal on the seed. So we'll have some fun. I know you guys are doing a bracket challenge. We're doing a bracket challenge as well. So you can find the different ways to sign up for that. What else we got on Idaho Sports Talk today?
Mostly just this. We may talk a little bit about football and that long list of injuries that came out over the while we were in Vegas and how they can survive that and how they can overcome that. But it's all March Madness talk. It's Boise State, and the invitation to Tom Wistrcill is out. And I want to talk to somebody from the committee. I want to figure out why 12 men embarrassed themselves on national television yesterday. That's the biggest issue we're going to tackle today on Idaho Sports Talk.
Appreciate you. It was a fun time down there in Vegas. Appreciate you, Mike. Looking forward to joining you guys. And I really hope Friday you're doing a show right during a Boise State Florida game. That would be a lot of fun. I think it's a 2:30 start Mountain Time on Friday for that game. So hopefully that's the case, and I can join you guys after Boise State's second win later in that show. That would be fun. So appreciate you. Thanks to JP. We'll be listening again 3 to 6 today. JP, Bob, Johnny Prater, the whole crew. They will be getting you set for Boise State and Colorado. I'll be heading to the airport here in about a half an hour, flying to Dayton. Actually flying to Indianapolis, and then we'll be live starting tomorrow with BNN's coverage. Tomorrow afternoon, I think it is 11:30 Mountain Time is the press conference and the open practice at UD Arena tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to watching Colorado State tomorrow night as well. Go Mountain West, and I think it's, like you said, time to prove it, and let maybe the Mountain West can go on a big run here and prove everybody wrong. So appreciate you, Mike. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks again for your support. We'll talk to you from Dayton, Ohio tomorrow. Never thought I'd say those words again. Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com.